Thank you for tuning in. It's a new channel, so please like and subscribe and comment. Thank you. Enjoy.
He's like, "Why are you nervous, JC? I'm here. Haven't you seen my TikToks? I'm stoked. I'm ready, bro. Don't worry. I'm stacked, bro. Don't worry about it."
What was the first job you ever had in like hospitality?
The first hospitality
Talk to
job.
Mike.
The first hospitality job I ever had was as a waiter for Spaghetti Warehouse,
The one in downtown?
the one in downtown.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So now that everybody knows how ancient I am. Yeah.
They just sold that place.
Yeah. It's only been there for 100 things. Anyway, what were you saying?
They sold it. It was called, I forgot what it's gonna be called now. The guys that own Vida Garden bought it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So I might end up in there again. Okay, great.
McIntyre. It used to be a McIntyre's.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
They sold it. I guess downtown's a little different than they expected.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's a good move for the guys from Vida Garden because FIFA's come in and
Yeah.
that's their little niche.
Yeah, for sure.
Colombia, goal.
When was that era of what's that place called? I never been to it. But Grasshopper M Bar. When was that? What year was that?
Oh God, I'm thinking 2004, 2006. There I did right around there, all the way to 2010 for some of them. Shadow Bar kind of lingered, and I mean Level and Cotton Exchange and all that.
How was downtown back then?
God, downtown was very different. It hadn't. We didn't have the rail, so and you didn't. You had people that worked, but it was more toward the outskirts. It hadn't been. There wasn't as many retail spots on Main Street. It was kind of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Was where everything was. So you would just kind of go from club to club, hopping, and all the promoters would be outside, just on your phone. Okay, hey, here's my person. Here's who's coming, and it was different. It just wasn't. It wasn't the way this scene is now. It was everybody knew everybody, and now it's a lot different. It's a lot more corporate.
Yeah.
And it's everything evolves. So one day it was going to happen.
What's the difference between back then and now?
The biggest thing is, I think back then you knew your customers personally. There wasn't so much social media or so much brand identity for each individual business. It was who's got the most hustle, who could bring the most people, who's got a better DJ, who's got the better front of the house with the bar staff. You knew your bartenders. There was a lot of identity. I'm sure some of that still happens, but it's on a different scale. It's a lot different. You don't have when you think about going to a place like
Where do you see the pizza place going? Like,
the pizza business. Oh yeah, that place.
what made you want to do that in the first place?
For one, the location was a very good location when we got the deal. I've always wanted to do something with John Avila, who's a very, very good friend of mine. And then I have another friend who's basically like a brother, John Shaw, who said, hey, you know what? I want to finance something. Let's do something. But I want it to be in something that's a little eclectic, but not bougie.
What does eclectic mean?
A little upscale.
Okay.
I don't want to do something average.
Okay.
He's like, if we do pizza, I want to do it just a step up. Kind of in the vision of brands like MOD, things like that. And I said, okay. And then John Avila called me and said, hey, I have a great location because right now he's already opened and owned over 10 restaurants from my count, from all the way when Conservatory before the second run now. He was down in the tunnels.
It was called that before too?
Yeah, it was called Conservatory before.
Oh.
Yeah, originally. And out of a 10 by 10 space, basically, he ran $1 million his second year. Him and his wife. Yeah, and his brother-in-law. Oh yeah, bro, he's a hustler. And when you see someone take a spot the size of this podcast
Yeah.
booth and make $1 million, you're like, okay, this guy's he's
Midas,
on.
the Midas touch.
Yeah. You know, and then, you know, he started doing consulting. He did something at Barclay for the New Jersey Nets, the first restaurant, set it up there. So I wanted to do things with him for the longest because I know the guy's got a gift. You know, he's really good. And then when it comes to business, you know, my guy John Shaw, like I said, one of my best friends, he's been wanting to do some things with me, but more on something of a formal, not something in the nightlife.
Yeah.
For both of them, it was like, Juan, let's step out of the nightlife.
Yeah.
That way we don't conflict with anything you've got going on, and let's build something from scratch. Let's get our own brand and let's put it out there.
Yeah.
And that's what, you know, made us want to do it. Is it doing well? We're in it. It's in its incubation still.
Yeah.
It's in the first month. Everything. There's no route that doesn't have a few bumps in the road.
Always, yeah.
So those challenges are what make you look back and go, man, it's all worth it now when it's good.
Yeah.
If there were no bad days, you wouldn't appreciate the good days.
Yeah.
So, you know, the ups and the downs. So we're going through that right now to refine and present what we've got going on. And we're right next to Cidercade. So it's a great location, ton of exposure. We've got about
What's the name of it again?
Pinballs Pizzeria.
Pinballs Pizzeria. Follow them. What's the Instagram?
It's Pinballs Pizzeria. That's the Instagram at Pinballs Pizzeria. The website is pinballspizzeria.com. And we don't have Facebook yet, but we're getting that. We'll have it today.
Sleeping on Facebook.
I know. Sleeping in general, you got to watch me.
TikTok too.
Oh, have TikTok.
There
So
you go.
we do have Pinballs Pizzeria on TikTok. So, and so we're right there next to Cidercade with about, I think we did the count the other day, and it's like 15,000 residents within a 1 mile radius between all the units. So, and then you go further down Magnolia, you know, into Magnolia, into Segundo Barrio, right there. And there's tons of homes, all residents that have been there forever that are saying, hey, we want good pizza, you know, and we're trying to be that for them. We're trying to cater to them and at the same time be a brand that's available for anybody who, you know, says, hey, I'm here in Houston. Let me check out, you know, the pizza scene.
What made y'all want to do the pinballs thing?
Because we were right there next to Cidercade, and because one of Chef Avila, growing up, he remembers all the pizza joints back when he was going to them, had the little pinball games and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's like, you know what? I think it would be kind of cool to kind of stick with the theme. We've got family environment going on right next door.
Yeah.
We'll bring that vibe here and serve good pizza. You know, and that's what we were going for. We wanted to definitely be kind of different than Big City Wings. They're more of a college vibe, more of a hustle and bustle, and you know, a little younger vibe. And we're kind of more of a family vibe. And it's working for us. I did not have any idea that so many families lived so close to us. All of our clientele the first month has all been families with 2-3 children, all staying in the 5-minute radius. They're all, oh yeah, we live up the street. Oh, our kids go to school right around here. Oh, we live down the road, you know. And I'm like, where are all these families? I used to downtown being single people, working people. That's it. You work downtown, you live in the suburbs. If you work in the nightlife, you're single and you're in the scene, you know.
Yeah.
But it's changed, so.
A lot.
Yeah. So, and being right next to Minute Maid, minutes from Toyota, right next to Dynamo Stadium, you know, we're right there, you know, we're in a good spot.
Y'all should figure out how to get into Minute Maid.
These are all parts of the plan.
Yeah.
What first you want to do is you want to get your operation running, have consistent food, recipes, and great service. You do that first and you dominate that, then you ring the bell and present it. You know? And that's kind of where we're at. And Chef has us on a plan to do that. Every week he's going over feedback from customers, family, friends, as we've been open, because that's our first customers. And he's asking them, what can we do to make the pizza better? What do you like about the pasta? How can we make our subs better? You know, what do you think about the wings? And he does that. And, you know, they're very honest because these are people we can trust. They'll say, hey, somebody told me, I didn't like the wings. They were salty. Change your recipe for the lemon pepper. Okay. You know? And don't serve that anymore. Oh, okay,
Damn.
it happens. But we want that. Like if
For
if,
sure,
if,
yeah.
if nobody
You need
tells
that,
you,
yeah.
it's like having a trainer and you're in the gym.
Yeah.
If they don't, hey man, you're not getting it, Juan. You got to get out there.
Yeah.
You got to push harder. Quit giving up. If that person doesn't tell you that,
Yeah.
you won't get to that next level. And we want to do that. So
That's one thing I've noticed, that a lot of places they start with that quality and hospitality, and then as they expand, they forget about that shit. Like the only place I could think of that's kept it. Maybe there's a few more, but Chick-fil-A, like they duplicate the recipe and they kept it the same. There's a couple like other places that do it, but the more
the
you
scalability
expand,
is there. Correct. They're very, very strict to certain guidelines that they take, and they do not waver.
Yeah.
Because of that, you can go to any Chick-fil-A and the menu is consistent.
Yeah.
The sauces are consistent. The response from the individuals that work for the company is consistent.
That shit-
I have never gone to a Chick-fil-A, been in line and had someone go, "Hey, what's up? You want some chicken?" No. Everybody's like, "Hey, welcome to Chick-fil-A."
Yeah.
They're happy. They're excited. Somebody's in their ear telling them, "Hey, how quick can they get out the order?
Yeah.
Hey, bring me this. Bring me that, sir. Give us 1 minute. Park right here. We're going to bring it to you." It's such a... You go through it and you're like, man, this is Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Like, the ordering is even part of the experience because you feel like there's a sense of urgency and they care about what they're doing
that shit is
when they serve you.
That shit sounds like difficult but worth it.
Yes,
You know?
yes, yeah, and I've talked to people that work there once they go to other jobs, and I've never seen anybody from Chick-fil-A go to like a lesser job.
Yeah.
Like they take another position and it's a job with more responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think it's because Chick-fil-A recruits those kind of people.
Yeah.
So it's really like your company, your business, always relies on your people, the people power. What you put into the business is going to reflect in how the output that goes to the general public.
Yeah.
So, on an HR stance and on a, culture stance, you have to bring in the right people.
Yeah.
That's,
So how do
that's
you deal with
important.
that? And like every business you're in, how do you deal with the bad apples?
It's kind of like this. You have to be appropriate in remembering that we're all human. They're a person. You can't lose your humanity. You got to always remember, hey, this person, they're just not a fit here maybe. Or it's a bad time for them. Or it's, something is off. So what you want to do is as humbly and as with the most ethics that you can put professionally forward, you want to try to deal with the situation, save it. And preserve it if you can.
Yeah.
Because I've always liked keeping the people that work with me.
Yeah.
If someone brings me from this level to the next and they put in hard work, I hate to see them leave. Now, if they're leaving to go to something better, then I applaud them.
Yeah.
Because you never know where that person will go.
Yeah.
They will move somewhere and then would call you 2 years later and say, "Hey, Juan, I'm the manager now at the Arena Theater and we need food.
Yeah.
Can you cater your pizza here?"
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't want to be bad. I don't want to burn that bridge.
Yeah.
But I also have to do something which is called present an equal and balanced platform to my staff where they know everyone counts and that my customers are first.
Yeah.
They have to know that. They have to even be willing to see me step back and wash dishes and take out trash if that's what's needed.
Yeah.
And if it means, hey, Juan, we're full, we need a table for a customer. You know what, guys? Let me pick my things up. I'm going to go sit in the car, give this customer my table. They have to see that, and that's what makes them buy into the culture.
For sure, yeah.
So with bad employees or employees, there's no bad employees. There's only bad managers and supervisors.
Okay.
Because remember, who brought that employee in?
Yeah.
Exactly. Who trained him?
Yeah.
So remember, the soldiers only follow what the leader allows them to do or shows them to do.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to accept that. If you ever want to be a leader, you have, like they say, heavy lies the crown.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say, you know what? I hired this guy. At the end of the day, no matter what I made, what did I originally see in him that made him attractive? What was the vision I had for his role
in the beginning? Yeah.
Correct. And if you've strayed from that and you're expecting more, then as an owner or as a manager, you have to say, okay, I've taken this person out of their depth.
Yeah.
And if they're still within their depth and there's something like, okay, what's changed? Do they not feel appreciated? Do they not feel they're getting their flowers? Do they not feel that I'm giving them their role? Is there confusion? Have things changed? Is there another employee they're having a conflict with? How do I fix it? Because if you just fire and eliminate employees every time, it's a long road to find that perfect chemistry.
Yeah.
And to fine tune any business, any organization. You have to try to find esprit de corps. A person I know, Mr. Esquivel, he's a drill instructor in the Marines. One time I told him about problems I was having at a business. He goes, wow, can you imagine if I got to do that? I said, what do you mean? He said, every young man they send me, when I'm a drill instructor, I produce a Marine.
Oh, shit.
He's like a mean, lean killing machine. Somebody who's ready to go out there and attack take on whatever their orders are.
Yeah.
I don't get to send them back home to their family and say, he's not a Marine. Juan.
Yeah.
I have to make it work. He goes, that's what a good leader does.
Yeah.
You look for those things in someone and put them in the right role and make them functional.
Yeah.
You help them. You build them up. He goes, that's why sometimes you have to take them down. Tear them down, get them to step away. If they're willing to do that one, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to build character and good, strong habits to make this a good, productive employee. I'm like, all right, I get what you're saying. He's like, so don't take the easy way out, Juan, and just fire. Because it's human nature.
Yeah.
Somebody rubs you the wrong way, you're like, I want to get rid of that person.
So what about this though? Does that apply to both genders, like men and women? Can you do the same formula?
I mean, I think you have to. I think you should. I do feel like, that you have to. I think what happens is human nature. As a guy, I want to talk to a guy the way I talk to a guy.
Yeah.
And then when I talk to a female, I want to try to, that's just because you're taught, I'm a Latino. The way we grow up is you're supposed to respect
for sure,
the women in your world, protect your sisters, your aunts. That's inbred in us.
Yeah.
And so it's a little difficult. You try to approach it differently, but then again, I'm a professional. I'm in my business. I'm an owner. That has to supersede everything.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to just rip the Band-Aid off and, doing it ethically and professionally. And then sometimes you kind of have to listen to the person, let them tell you whatever they want to say so they can vent. And a lot of times that relieves it. When an employee says, look, from day one, this happened, and then this, and then this. And okay. Mind you, a lot of times you've had no control over it.
Yeah.
Their car breaking down, their babysitter cancels, their kid gets sick, they're not getting their child support, then they're going through, it's all these things, and they're like, I'm stressing. And you listen, and you're like, you know what? I hear you.
Yeah.
I empathize. So as your boss, this is the best I can do, and I want you to succeed. So let's sit down and look at what can we do to start walking toward the right direction and be positive. What is the best route to start making headway? Because we're not going to stay on the bad side. We're going to begin to see some light because we're going to walk the right direction and get to the end of the tunnel. Oh, okay. Well, and then that person says, well, I mean, what can you do about, you can't fix this, you can't fix that. But you know what? What schedule will work better for you?
Yeah.
And what days do you need off? Okay. And do you need more hours? Okay, we can try to accommodate that. And definitely, if you always need someone to talk to, I'm willing to listen.
Yeah.
Sometimes
that's important, right?
You want to be approachable.
Yeah.
If you're not approachable, you will never know what's going on. You'll smell smoke. And you'll be like, okay, there's something's off. We got fire. And all your employees will just keep their arms crossed and say, yeah, figure it out, boss.
Yeah.
You're the boss. Come on.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that kind of a boss.
Yeah.
You want to be a leader that is accepting all of the feedback from your staff. Because they're going to tell you, hey, somebody punched a hole in the bathroom wall. We probably need to get that fixed. Okay. Hey, Juan, the internet's down, so we can't do transactions on the POS. Hey, Juan, the KDS isn't working. The kitchen staff can't see pizza orders. So you want to keep those lines of communication open no matter what. And sometimes, yes, you got to exhibit a lot of patience because some employees, they're just like kids. They need something different than the next employee. Yeah, some employees that are, oh man, they're awesome. They're Johnny on the spot. You never have, and then you have those employees that if you don't smile, when they walk through the door and make them smile back, you won't pick them up, and they'll deal with your customer. Welcome to Pinballs.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, come on, you gotta be. So you have to look and inject that energy. It's contagious.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to. If you don't, then it won't be a good result. So as an owner, you got to do it, and you got to have a manager that knows how to do that. It has to trickle down, especially if you have middle management, assistant managers, and managers. Again, back to Chick-fil-A, this is what they do. They look for those types of individuals that are. It's a word that a lot of people use that don't know even how to use it. It's called dynamic.
Okay.
Dynamic people. Dynamic people look for solutions. Dynamic people don't just react. They are proactive.
Yeah.
See, because you can react to anything. Ouch.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, reacting is just reacting. This is hot. I burned my hand. Oh, a customer yelled at me. I'm going to yell back.
Yeah.
No. But is it who is proactive?
Yeah.
Who handles the situation and says, okay, so this is how we're stopping the bleeding out.
Yeah.
We're going to fix the issue now, right here. And this is how we start going in the right direction. And I would say Chick-fil-A is great at it.
So I guess you could say McDonald's in a way, right?
McDonald's to a point, but their managers have more of that. I see Chick-fil-A, it permeates all the way down. Yeah. All
top
the way
to bottom.
down.
That's just crazy.
Top to bottom. And I see individuals working for Chick-fil-A, and some of these, there's some very, very... I'll give you an example. I don't know if you know Buc-ee's. You familiar with the brand?
They're fucking going.
Right. I want you to name any other gas station you would walk inside of and purchase boudin sausage.
Yeah.
Or you would 20 different flavors of slushy.
Yeah.
Like literally, all they have to do is put something in their store and put Buc-ee's on it and it'll sell.
Yeah. The reputation is so strong. Yeah.
The brand is so strong.
Yeah.
Someone recently interviewed with them. It's a very good friend of mine who used to be a regional manager for Fuddruckers. I won't say his name,
they get paid
ridiculously.
I was like, I took a picture of that shit. I was on a road trip. I was like, bro, I might find my new career right here.
Correct. So I asked him, I said, when you interviewed with them, because it was a 4-interview process, what was consistent? What were they looking for? Because I want to look for that in employees. He said, number one, they asked you what was your most difficult task at the last company. Mm-hmm. They asked you, what did you think could have been improved? He said, and then they asked a very weird question. I said, what was it? They asked about, what did I think about the bathrooms of the business? I said, the bathrooms? And so I was like, what does that even matter? He goes, every person along the way asked me that. And I was like, okay. He says, here's why, Juan. One of the fewest things that any gas station focuses on, but is the most annoying and troublesome, is when you stop at a gas station, you need to use the bathroom. And you will almost, if it is horrible, you won't buy a thing from them.
Yeah.
If they tell you, we don't have a public bathroom, even worse, you may never stop there again.
Yeah.
Okay? If you go in and there's a vagrant or someone just hanging out, taking a bath in a sink, I've had horror stories. And I said, oh, wow. I said, and what did they tell you? He said, they said that the number one customer feedback they receive from all their stores is how impeccable their bathrooms are, the condition, how easy it is to go in and find a stall, how many sinks. It's very robust. Like you go in and you're like, oh man, this is, people stand in front of the mirror, adjust themselves. It's not like going into the effect of going into a gas station at other places.
A regular one,
You walk in and you know you're going to find a stall. You see employees tidying up, taking out the trash. It's never dirty.
Yeah.
It's never in disarray. I said, does it make, he goes, one, it makes a huge difference. He goes, another thing, all of the staff, it dressed like what you would expect to see them. And I said, explain. Go to the butcher area. No one knows this. There's a company called JD Souls. They are the ones that cook all the brisket.
Oh, shit.
They're the actual company that cooks the brisket for Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
Buc-ee's orders 100 of them a day or however many they go through. But when you walk in, everyone's wearing a butcher apron, gloves. They have a professional knife. They're wearing branding. You think you're walking into a butcher shop
Yeah.
because it's outfitted and looks like that. So then that high price point of $15 for a
Yeah.
brisket sandwich, you feel
Yeah.
like it's worth it.
For
Look at
sure.
look at the production
Yeah.
is there. And yes, sir. What do you need?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what, sir? Let me see that. I'm like, the sandwiches, are they fresh? I'll make you one right now, sir.
Yeah.
Don't grab any of those. Give me that. I'll make you one. I'm like, I'm not complaining. She says, no. But I'll cut it for you right now. And I
sure.
just literally watched her slice me some brisket. And she said, do you want sauce on it? No. I said, just like, okay. Put it together, wrapped it. Here you go, sir. Thank you. She was happy
Yeah.
to do that for me. So immediately, and that's, again, everybody in the place. It permeates, and everybody has headphones on. Everybody's got a headset. I was looking for a shirt. There weren't any smalls. The person that was with me had her daughter with her. I said, oh, if you don't have any, she said, wait a second. Shh. Hey, Susie, I'm over here in the children's section. Do we have any more Bucky's pink onesies? Oh, they have them. They have them in the back. Let me go grab it for you. Quick. So there's no, it's seamless. The service, the presentation is strong. Bucky's, Chick-fil-A,
What Houston brand does that you could think of? Is there anybody that comes out the top of your head?
where you get good service like that.
Yeah.
One of my competitors.
Don't say their name then.
No, I'm going to say their name. You know why? Because I'm not a hater.
Okay.
Tiny Champions.
Oh, Tiny Champions. Okay.
Okay, when I go eat there, I've gone with numerous people just because I was like, maybe it's just me. No. Like, they're like, dude, the food is great. We like their pizza. And, dude, the service is awesome.
Oh yeah.
So when I see, like, competition raise the bar like that,
Yeah.
that's what that's where I set my marks.
Okay.
Maybe not, because they're fine dining. It's not so casual. We're more of a casual dining experience. But definitely to get the reaction they get out of the customers. The place is packed. The wait is an hour. They recommend reservations.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah, and I mean customers just sit and
Do your
spend.
partners have your partners been there?
Oh yeah. They've told me, oh God, this is where we need to be. The parking doesn't even hold all their business.
Yep.
So and they're killing it. And there's a few other brands out there. I would say when I've gone to Gloria's, it took maybe my second visit to get that vibe where my waiter recognized me and then the bartender knew me. And that was more of when you're a regular, you get that at Tiny Champions they'll even ask, is this your first time here? Can we recommend some things? They know the menu. They ask what your flavor. Oh, do you have a flavor profile you like? Do you like things on the spicy side or the tangy side? Do you like trying new things? Because we have some menu items that are non-traditional.
What's the price point there?
They're probably at about $30 a person.
Okay.
Which is, like I said, a little on the more between at the edge of casual, right at the beginning of fine dining, when you throw in drinks. So on a date night, you're looking at $50 a person.
Yeah.
So, but it's well worth it. Like
Yeah.
you feel anyone I've ever gone with goes, man, that place was great. I see why you brought me there.
Yeah.
It's, and they're like, they look and they go, oh God, the food's got to be great. Look at the wait, it's a nice crowd. I mean, I've never had bad service there. So, I would compare it to the other places I've gone is like, Buca de Beppo, Fogo de Chao, Damien's. Those are places I've gone where I get similar service. So, and in pizza, that's a great thing. To get that level of service at pizza in a casual atmosphere, it's pretty good.
You wouldn't think that it will come from a pizza service that you get that like experience.
Oh yeah, no, but they definitely are on point, brother.
Are y'all close? Are y'all close to that business model yet or no?
We're close, but we have to. Again, we're barely staffing up, so we're finding all the players, all the pieces. We're getting there, so we'll be there. I would give it 6 months, and we'll be where we want to be at. Yeah, and it's going to be an identity of our own, probably a hybrid of what they have going on.
Yeah.
But without going to fine dining, it'll be as close as we can get to that experience. Because that's what our goal is. Great product is awesome. You want to have a great product, but if the service isn't there, you won't get anywhere. you have to put your customer first, and they have to feel like they like spending money with you.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel like they're spending.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
give them that value, like you just said about the brisket over there. Like, I never thought of that. I don't even remember that they were that expensive, but they are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I like to get their beef jerky too. The beef jerky is pretty badass.
Yep. And so, but when you see it and you feel that vibe, you don't buck to spending the money.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everything else. You get what you pay for, but in vice versa, if you give your customer the presentation and the product, they don't mind. And it's always the customer you want.
Yeah.
You want that customer who's not nickel and diming you.
Yeah.
You want that customer who's not, saying, hey, you know what? Is it extra if I get this? How much more is extra cheese?
Yeah.
Well, that's not the market you want to be in, because then price is the only matter. And it shouldn't be the only matter. Price should be a byproduct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody told me one time, oh man, it's so hard to sell because people only care about price. No, they don't.
Nah.
You're talking to the wrong people.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know it because I would go, there's the BMW Momentum,
Yeah, yeah.
BMW in downtown.
Yeah.
Go by there any morning at 10 o'clock. There's a line of customers. And they're expensive vehicles. And guess what? Nobody is saying, well, I'm not going to get a BMW because of the price. No, they're saying, I want a BMW
Yeah.
because the brand, the quality, what that vehicle represents, the experience, it already speaks for itself. So when your brand gets there, price is secondary. It's
Yeah.
the least that anybody looks at. The customer's like, qualify me. I'll find a way to pay for this car. I just gotta have it.
Yeah.
So so it's
They're begging you to sell them something.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. You'll know when it's right. Frank's Pizza. A lot of people tell me, oh man, Frank's is overrated. Maybe. He has a line. He sells a lot of pizza.
Always.
And people come to Houston, for better or worse, people say, hey, I got to go to that Frank's Pizza place.
Yeah.
So my goal maybe isn't to have the same type of pizza as them or the same customer service, but definitely I want people coming to saying, hey, isn't Pinballs Pizza around here? I've heard about them.
Yeah, yeah.
When you have that, then you're on the right road.
Also the marketing.
Yeah. That's got a lot to do with it. The only thing I can say is Frank's been around forever, so
Yeah, a lot of these companies, it takes them like 50, 75 years to build that kind of people remember them no matter what.
Yeah.
A lot of these companies too, they started off as different things. Like Samsung started off as a different company. They didn't sell technology.
Yep.
BMW was one. Procter and Gamble was like a soap company. A lot of these things change over time. And they finally find their one thing that hit, and they just run in that direction.
Correct. They hit their stride, and I think even who was it? Somebody did I think tractors or bulldozers.
Oh yeah,
first.
that might have been BMW or
Lamborghini?
A Lamborghini, yeah.
Lamborghini. There you go. And then now when you say I'm driving a Lamborghini, if somebody pulls up in a tractor, you're like, no, you're not. So it's business. Sometimes you step outside of the model, but you hit your stride and you find your niche. And I think we're gonna find our niche definitely in the local community first, because we're catering to them, and then anybody who wants just a quality pizza experience that comes to us, then I think they're gonna get what they want.
So what's the difference that you've noticed from focusing on alcohol sales and food sales?
Oh God, that's it's funny that you asked that, because since I don't drink, it's like now that I'm standing on the outside, I'm like, thank God everybody else does, because the margins are incredible. Yeah. You'll make 5 times. If your liquor cost or your buy is $10,000 on a Saturday, and you sell out, you should have made $50,000.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's 5 times basically, the amount, depending if you're running bottle service and, how much premium and top shelf liquor the brands are pushing, but you should do well. And with food, God, if you make $1, pray to look up and go, thank you, Jesus. Because it's really tough.
Yeah.
When you throw in food cost, labor, cost of production, when I say production, the gas that runs your oven, the gas that runs your stove, the electricity that powers your ice machine and your make table, and then depending if it's a to-go order or dine-in, the packaging for that. And, almost everybody's Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, and then you have the third party, that app. Well, they got to make their money.
Yeah.
So that results into a even more of a price increase for the customer. You know,
shit.
and on average, third party food orders start at $25 a person. When I first got Uber Eats, we lived very close to a Starbucks, but it was raining, it was cold. I didn't want to go. I said, "Hey, I'll order my latte." Somebody walks in the rain, they bring it, I get it. That was the first time I paid $18 for a
Fuck
latte.
that.
And the last time.
Yeah.
I never again did that.
Fuck that.
I put on my long johns, my socks. I get up. And if I have to walk to Starbucks, I'll walk. But I'm not, because it's just, but that's, it's a convenience.
Yeah,
it's a
for sure.
luxury.
That's what you're
you know.
paying for.
That's what you're paying for, you know. And so it is what it is. But definitely, you know, in the food business, you have a lot of hidden costs that you never see. And then liquor, people complain maybe about the venue, about the security, about the DJ. When do you think the last time Jack Daniels got a phone call? Hey man, your Jack Daniels whiskey wasn't, buddy. Nobody's complaining.
Yeah.
But they're sending back my pizza if it doesn't taste right.
Yeah.
If my chicken Alfredo doesn't taste right, it's coming back. And that once it comes back, no matter what version of replacing that meal to that customer or even comping it, you've lost.
Yeah.
Whatever headway you made is lost. So, you know, it's definitely something where you have to keep your labor as lean as you can while still compensating your employees because you want quality staff.
Yeah.
And when it comes to people, you have to always remember the difference is the people in anything.
Yeah.
In any service. So I want to get the best people, the best ingredients, and then provide it to the customer in the best format and still make about a 30% profit. If I do that, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, if you're making less, which a lot of restaurants run lower than that.
I've heard.
That's Then you start seeing the telltale symptoms.
Yeah.
You know, equipment that doesn't work, staff that doesn't seem excited, low customer volume. You know, all those things that you're like, okay, these are symptoms. There's a bigger problem.
Yeah.
You know, what could it be? You know, and then that's, you know, and it's just the struggles of the business. But definitely in anything, it's always about the individuals that are part of that company. And that's what, you know, Chick-fil-A's figured out. And BMW and all the, you know, I even went one time with a friend. I don't buy from Gucci. I'm not a Gucci kind of guy. But I went with my friend. She was purchasing. And immediately her salesperson remembered her. When he came, he said, Alejandra. And I was like, do you come here that often? She goes, I come here once, maybe every 2 or 3 months. But this guy's always here. He was in a suit. He was completely from head to toe, I would say, put together.
Yeah.
His image was everything.
Yeah.
And he said, Alejandro, how you doing? Who's your friend? I said, I'm JC. Well, it's nice to meet you, JC. Hey, what are you getting today? Last time you came, you got that purse. There's no way he remembered that. When he saw her, looked her up, pulled up her profile, knew everything.
Yeah.
And he's keeping track.
Yeah.
Keeping track. Does she respond to the email marketing? Does she respond to the text marketing?
Yeah.
Because right away he was like, hey, you didn't come in November. She goes, yeah, I missed the Black Friday sale. He's like, yeah, I saw you responded and you put in the discount code, but you didn't come in. She was like, yeah, it's because I saw when I came to the Galleria, some things happened. I was still doing some Christmas shopping and y'all's line at the door was kind of long. He's like, yeah, well, we, you know, put some security measures in. So we kind of keep an eye on during the holidays, he was telling her. They just kind of watch how many customers come in, out, things like that. And I think...
Do y'all do any of that stuff right now? Like, do y'all keep track of the customers you have? Yeah.
100%. Everything is digital. All of our customers, we try to sign them up for our rewards program.
Yeah, that's
We
badass.
tried to get them to come in if they can. If they come through a third party, any third party, DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, immediately we get email, phone
Nice,
number,
nice.
and you retain that,
Yeah.
and you try to rebrand, go right back to them, and keep them brand loyal. If they come in person, we always, what's your name? What do you do? How did you hear about us?
Yeah.
How close do you live? Oh, okay. And then, as an added touch, you try to ask, hey, so when do you think we'll see you again? This coming up week, we're going to be open all week because we've been working like a broken schedule, opening a few days a week to refine and tune up things on our down days. But when we switched over to 7 days a week, we started letting the customers know, oh, by the way, next week we'll be here all week.
Yeah.
Oh, and don't, next month we might be adding something seasonal. You know, we might be trying out the calzone. Oh, we're adding cannolis to our dessert. We let them know what's going on, and we ask them, oh, you live close, right? Because we do deliveries ourselves as well.
Oh,
if
really?
you use our third party,
I didn't know that.
If they do our third party delivery, well, then they just go through the app. But if they call us, we do the delivery ourselves, and it's definitely a huge price difference.
Yeah,
because
big
we
time.
have to bump everything up on the menu,
Yeah.
30%. We're not competing with our third party members, but what we want to do is pass on some savings and a little bit of an extra touch of a personal side
sure.
of our drivers and our employees telling our customer, hey, Charlie, oh, and I remembered you like extra cheese and peppers. Oh, hey, by the way, here's a coupon. Next
Yeah.
week you can get a complimentary dessert. You know, just extra
You
little
should
things.
do that thing that Domino's, that fucking marketing genius. They started filling potholes themselves and put their logo on it.
Oh yeah. They did, and that's more like for the complexes because these apartment complexes, the city attends to them, but there are some apartment complexes that are run down.
There you go.
And if you're a delivery driver, man, your car takes the brunt of that.
Yeah.
So that filling those potholes is to that. Their
Because of
drivers
that,
tell them, yeah. There's a lot of things that they do in the corporate space. You know. It's funny. When you go to Domino's page, to the page itself, it's engaging, but they don't even have to try.
Oh, yeah.
It's like delivery or pickup. Which are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, because they don't even have that. That's crazy. They don't even have a dining room.
Yeah, they used to.
They used to back in the day.
Pizza Hut too, yeah.
Pizza Hut, some of them have like a little, but the only one that still does it is Pizza Inn.
Okay.
Pizza Inn has like a few locations with a salad bar and a buffet.
Yeah.
But other than that, that space is occupied by Marco's, Mr. Gotti's,
Oh, really?
Cece's, Star Pizza, places like that.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Domino's is very smart.
Yeah.
Because they know, for example, before we opened up, I visited all the top pizza places. And then social media pushed me to. Between 2 and 5 o'clock, the loneliest place in the world is a dine-in pizza dining room.
Really?
I got the Stars, and I was like, oh my God, Stars is going to be packed. It's going to be awesome. Everybody raves about it. I was in there, and the manager was nice. He took my order. I think he might have made my pizza, and he brought it out.
Oh,
because
shit.
he was that slow.
Damn.
You know? And the food was great. The experience was good. We got a ton of attention. But the place was, if you're going somewhere for a vibe or ambiance, there was no people power.
Yeah.
You know, from the other customers. So then I went to Sarpino's.
I never heard of that one.
It's in the independent brand. Okay. I think there used to be 3 in Houston. They're down to 1. But I said, you know what? I want to hit every angle of my competition. Okay. Then I went to a place called Bolo Pizza. Bolo. Went in, more artisan, more upscale, chef-inspired menu completely. They had a quick lunch crowd that turned over quickly, but they were just like tiny champions geared more to the evening.
What about Russo's? Have you been there?
I was at Russo's.
Yeah.
Russo's was okay, but Russo's hit me kind of like Brooklyn Pizzeria.
Yeah.
Kind of like Murphy's Deli, more of a corporate walk-in, not so one-on-one-ish.
Yeah.
That individual cater to the customer touch, I just didn't feel it. I feel it more at MOD, but then again, I don't know if you've ever been to an MOD or been recently. 90% of their staff is very, very young.
Yeah, big time.
So their attention span is like, welcome to MODs. What would you like to eat? Okay, well, I'm going to take a mega. Thank you. Okay, what's the name? Name for the order? Thank you.
Why do you think they went that route, that buffet style?
Because they cater to the build your own pizza. In other words, if you know what you want, you get just what you want. You could never say, "Oh, I don't like their pizza," because you built
made it. Yeah.
Hey, you don't like your pizza.
Yeah.
You made your pizza. You know, and so that doesn't require much culinary skill. It's more of an assembly line.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
Which is smart. It's the same thing with burritos. It's the same thing as Chipotle,
Subway. Yeah.
Subway. You know, you can get so your labor cost comes down, and your entry point for an employee is much lower.
Yeah.
You can get someone right out of high school, maybe someone who's just done fast food, and show them casual dining. The other thing is customers get to see it. Customers love seeing and going, okay, no, yes. Can I get a little more?
Yeah, yeah.
No. Oh, no, I don't like that. What? No. Take that. That olive looks funny. Take it off. I don't want it. You know, and they can, and they trust it because the food is never away from their purview.
Oh,
It gets put right into the oven.
I didn't think about that.
And
You
think
pay
about
attention to this shit.
Oh, you have to because there's always that stigma of be nice to your server. You know, ever since that movie Waiting, don't mess with the people that make your food. You know, it's like, and so when I sit down places, if I'm with someone and they start having problems, like, be nice, be nice.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
I don't want the special surprise. Okay, there's a chalkboard in the back with sticks on it with hash marks. I don't want to be a statistic. You know, so I see that model worked and it was great. Now I'm going to tell you why so many MODs are closing. Food cost out the wazoo.
That's the first thing I thought about whenever they did that. I was like, man, that shit must cost a lot.
Correct. And not only that, there's a lot of loss. Because when you have that caliber of staff, I know someone who one time we knew each other. I saw him, hey, what's up? And I watched, and he was ahead of me. He did not pay for his pizza. So then I paid for my pizza. We sat down. His pizza got put into the oven by a different person than the cashier. The cashier was on her phone. She was talking to her coworkers, ringing up whoever paid, but she must have thought that gentleman was with me. She didn't charge me for his pizza. She didn't charge him. And then as he's leaving, I said, hey, you didn't pay. And he winked at me and walked right out the door with a free pizza.
You know what's funny, though? That's happened to me before. And a mod cake, too.
See, okay. So, but that's the thing, is what no one has realized is that when you find something, and see, again, it's back to scalability.
Yeah.
This is back to what we talked about with Chick-fil-A. Yeah. It's that structure isn't there. You don't have that $60,000 a year manager over them for two reasons. One, it's not part of their model financially, and two, the communication barrier.
Yeah.
It's like, it's very difficult. McDonald's has it to a point, but if you ever sat down and talked to like one of their managers, just, I can help you. What would you like? You know, and that's nothing. I get it. Some of these people are the salt of the earth. Yeah. They're nice, but to find an employee higher than that, the salary cap just doesn't allow it. And unless you find a diamond in the rough, someone who's like, you know what, I was in corporate America.
That's tough.
I'm retired, but I just want to be back to the hustle and bustle.
Yeah.
The retiree market is a very robust market. Look at Home Depot. If you ever go to Home Depot and you walk in and talk to somebody who's 20, I'm looking for anchor bolts. Yeah. Hold on, I got you. What is an anchor bolt? They're talking to AI asking what an anchor. But instead, you say, "Hey, I need the internal pump system for a regular toilet, for a standard residential toilet."
Yeah.
And the guy in the plumbing area is silver-haired. He's like, "I got you. Come. What kind of how big is your tank?"
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And what kind of a lever is it? Is it a recessed lever, reciprocating lever? And I'm like, I don't know. Here's a picture of it. And the person, oh, by the way, are you going to change the seal at the bottom of the toilet? He has. They're because they're what I like to call seasoned.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to say other words, but they're seasoned. They're veterans. They're someone who's been in the game. You know, they know what they're talking about. And you can tell the huge difference. And it's just habit of mine. I'll walk up to someone at Home Depot in the paint department. I never talk to someone who I feel like is out of depth. Mm-hmm. I'll walk up to the guy who I see who's got the apron on. He's got a little dirt under his nails. And you can tell he's got the little screwdriver in his back pocket for opening the cans and closing them. You know, that's the person I feel comfortable with because I know he's going to know what he's talking about. The problem with that for MOD is all the staff has to be here, and getting them to listen to that senior person that you'd have to
yeah.
get. It's that communication.
Yeah.
So typically it's a peer that's there who's just a little bit sharper, but then how much are you going to get out of that person until that sharp tool goes, I can go work over here and
Yeah.
I can go work at T-Mobile and be a manager
Yeah.
and make, $20 an hour. I'm working at MOD making 16.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. I don't want to be mopping floors and dealing with hot pizzas and, burning my eyebrows off in front of the oven. It's one of those things. It's a tough.
Have you had
labor-
experience in food before? Like,
Oh,
when did
yeah.
you get into ownership? What was your first place, and how did you end up in that?
It was a place called Sweet Jellos.
Sweet Jellos?
Yeah, it was a little bar in off of Harrisburg. I knew the owner, and I knew his business partner, who was an attorney. The attorney said, Juan, you're really good at finding employees. 'Cause I was in the staffing business, and I was staffing companies like Stewart and Stevenson, Astroworld, the rodeo, big accounts with hundreds of people. I had a team of recruiters that would work with me, and I knew how to promote and recruit people for employment. So one day I show up to this place, and I meet the owner, and we're shooting pool. And I said, oh, I've invited a few friends to come through. And that turned into like 15 people. He's like, how do these people know you? Oh, Juan, we hang out with him at the rodeo. We hang out with him during the Astros season openers, and we go to the Oilers games. This is back then. So we do a lot of stuff with him, and he's the guy. He's the guy from the staffing company that can get you a job, and then on the weekend take you to a cook-off, and you hang out with him. And he's like, oh, okay, so you build rapport. He's like, man, you'd be good for the bar business because you know a lot of people and you can get them to come out. And I was like, I'll think about it. That turned into one of those gentlemen getting very ill. And the lawyer said, look, I'm not going to go work in a bar, and my partner has to get out of the business.
Yeah.
I trust you. You're responsible. I've seen how you work. I would be willing to own or finance to you this bar. I had a business partner who was number one customer. Drink a bottle of Jack every day. So anyway, he invested money, was coming to hang out and wanted to be a bar owner.
Yeah.
And I was the guy hiring bartenders, waitresses, hiring DJs, security, and I enjoyed it, and I liked it to the point where I got my sea legs in that, and I said, you know what? This is for me. I like the nightlife.
Yeah.
At that time in my life, I had a lot of hustle. I really enjoyed being in the bustle, being the guy that knew where the party was.
Yeah.
And all the networking. Because I always found a way to use that network and double dip.
Yeah.
A customer that was doing staffing ended up coming in and having his birthday party with me. Or saying, hey, I have a client in town and we want to know what the best spot to go is. Okay, let me call over here to Belvedere.
Yeah.
Let me tell them to get you at the door and get you in. Where are you going to go eat at? Well, I don't know. What do you recommend? Let me call my guy at Cuchara or the Red Onion and get them to take care of you there. And then, you guys can go over to Belvedere and finish out the night with a bottle over there. Oh, okay, cool. And it worked. And it started getting me a reputation.
How long were you there?
Oh, God, I was there at that business probably about 2.5 years.
Okay.
And then I decided the bar business, which was much different than the nightlife and the club business, was a little slow. I wanted to, I had the same regulars 7 days a week. They were only going to drink what they were going to drink. And I think my capacity was 80 people, 100. So it was very
That's a good
low-key.
start, though. Shit.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
But right away it makes you think, I can do much bigger. And I got into promotion at Link Lounge. That was where, it was a 2-story, 4,000 square feet.
Was it back to back, or like, did you take a break?
In between there, I helped out a couple of spots. Czar. I helped out at on Main Street at some place called Fuego, and then I helped, little place, I Lounge, and all the little pop-ups that would come and go. That every year would change their name.
Pop-ups.
Yeah,
That's a good
that's
way
what I
to
call
put
them.
it.
Little, Plush was across the street from where we're at.
We have a lot of
helped out at-
pop-ups right now in the nightlife.
I helped out at, and you do all these little projects, and you pick up followers,
Yeah.
you pick up sub promoters,
Yeah.
you build relationships with personnel, bartenders, and those bartenders go to other venues and they tell the owners, hey, you know what? You need this guy.
Yeah.
If you want a Latin night, which that's the way the industry was, 100%. You had urban night, you had hip hop night, you had Latin night, you had college night. You know, back in the Drink Houston days with Joey Bomb Squad and
Yeah.
Hush, and I don't know if you ever knew that guy, Joey Bomb Squad. There's a guy who used to call himself Bomb Squad Joey. And what you would do is you signed up on his list, he'd text blast you the password, and there was two ways to go into Club Hush. One was through the standard line or Joey's line. And if you went through his line, he got paid, I think, like $3 or $4 a head for every customer he brought. And every customer, he had a staff inside that would hook them up with Jello shots, a free house shot, whatever the promo was of the night. And literally, this guy would go head to head with whatever the in-house staff and radio promo did, and this guy was good.
Yeah.
This is at a time before apps, before all the strong social media. You know, you had with MySpace. You know, I think that was it. And he was like, dude, I got this algorithm. I'm going to send all my friends the invite to get in the line and send them the password. I was like, oh, man, this is so awesome. You know, you might get 80 people in the line.
Yeah.
You know, those days have come and gone. That was the heyday of the club business and the mega clubs. And then it went to boutiques.
Yeah.
Now it's all small, tight. And if you're big, you better be able to pull it. You know, you
So
gotta be
the
able
first
to-
spot was what year to what year? The 2.5 year spot.
Oh, God, I think it was 2001, 2002.
And Link Lounge was when?
Oh, God, that was like 2006,
Oh,
2008, 2010.
How did that land in your lap? Like, how did it?
We were
That's a big place.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge spot. The guys I was working with who are still in the industry, some of them, you know, David Carrillo, a young lady named Expo, a guy who's now a senior manager for T-Mobile, Carlos Esparza. They had all formed a company with a guy named Jose Vasquez called New Era Promotion. I was working with Alex, who was with, I guess, Sticky Promotion, a guy named Alex. God, I can't even remember. I think his last name is Rodriguez, something like that. Big guy, glasses.
Oh, I think I remember him.
Yeah, he was at Element.
Yeah.
And that was how I kind of got brought in. I was working with him, and right away I made friends with David Manukin, Joe Green, all those guys. And, you know, and all of a sudden, somebody tells me, hey, man, Link Lounge is looking for Latin promoters. These guys are on their way out. They don't want to be only urban, so come in. We come in, and right away, because we're 18 and up, the crowd, these are 18-year-olds that have been going to whatever Grasshopper, you know, little bitty dive bar, Toke, you know, rough spots. All of a sudden, they're in a 2-story club with their music getting played, which was definitely not all house.
Yeah.
You know, it was a little bit of, you know, a little bit of Houston, a little bit of the urban rap. So it was kind of a crossover.
Yeah.
And they liked it. In that market, nobody was going for it except a guy who's still kind of doing good in that market named JR. So, yeah, and Sticky Promotion was our only competition.
Okay.
So, you know, it was, and there was a lot of small companies, but they joined in with us, but that was my first push. I started as a promoter. From being a promoter, I kind of became like a sub promotions manager under a guy named Sammy Orlando. Really good friend of mine.
Shout out to Sammy.
Yeah, shout out to Sammy. He's a good dude, man. And basically, luckily, him and a lady named Susan showed me a few key things to the industry. And then the owner, Andy, was on his way out. He was like, "Hey, man, this isn't working for me. I need to get back to what I do." His trade was, he was a machinist, a very well-paid, high-paid machinist. And he said, I think I want to get back into my family and get out of this. So I'm out. And I developed a relationship with the landlord. And he approached me and he said, hey, you can be an owner. I know you've got the money to do it. And I said, yeah, I do have the money. And I do have a business partner, a guy named Robert Jackson. Shout out to Robert. He's probably up in Washington now, living his best civilian life. He got out of the industry. But he was my partner then. He'd been in the construction game. Did really, really well. He had a small club named Spade on Main Street, and he wanted to go to a bigger venue. And at that time, everybody was like Midtown. Midtown's where it's going. Midtown's the spot. And
Is that when Drinkery came around and all that?
yeah, Union,
Okay. Yeah.
Drinkery,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, we did really well there. It was good. And there's another gentleman, Louis Cepeda, also known as Teddy. He he I guess now he's got a place called Forum, and he's got like 3 or 4 other spots. But he owned a place that at that time was called Eden, and he wanted to make an after hours, and he opened up Vanity, and that was kind of when we hit our stride. Link Lounge and Vanity were about 2 blocks apart,
Oh damn.
and one was after hours, and the other one was a poppin' regular hour spot.
Yeah.
So I mean, dude, we would literally double dip. All of our crowd that was with us that night would come to us. We'd make our 10, 15K there, and then we'd go to after hours and boom, charge all of those same customers, cover again, and give them a party all the way till 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And it was, to this day, I've got people that they come up to me, Vanity After Hours.
Oh shit.
I'm like, wow, you remember that? They're like, oh man, do I got a story for you? Because it was just the Wild West. It was just, I mean, it kind of like Riches. It didn't get there, but it was like people that remember it. One guy told me, he goes, you know what? My first divorce was because of that. I'm like, oh, God, that's not good. He's like, hey man, I stayed out all weekend. I partied for 3 days, showed up home, and my wife said, get out of here.
How long were you there at Link?
Link was probably about a good 7-year stint.
Damn.
Altogether, yeah. It was while it was Link Lounge for 2 years, while it was Mansion, it was about 4.5, 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one did better?
They both did well. They both did well. It peaked out, I would say in a month we were probably at about 120K.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But our urban nights were doing 15 to 20,000. The Latin nights were doing at the bar 12 to 15.
Yeah.
And then when we had, because there was a really big college night that used to go on, and then we had a teen night.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, that was crazy. I never had a club that had a teen night, but this promoter that used to do it at Hush, when Hush shut down, he was like, hey man, I need a spot, and you guys are big, you're central, you're not in the middle of downtown, so you're right on the outskirts edge by Medical Center, and I was like, okay. So I'm thinking, okay, well, we're going to have security so there's no fights.
Yeah.
Definitely, I don't need a lot of bartenders because there's no alcohol.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty chill. Oh, no. Buddy, it's like being a camp counselor for summer camp. You got these little... And, everybody's going through puberty, making
hormones.
Oh, everywhere. It's like, hey, open that bathroom door. Open the door. Why? Something's going on in there. There's clothes on the floor. You got parents showing up, and the kids, okay, mom, my dad, they're like, we'll see you later.
Oh,
and the minute they leave, everybody's got a cigarette in their hand. You're like, wait a second. Hell yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. But, I mean, that promoter really had his hand deep in that market. And I mean, I think they topped out at 1,100 attendees once.
At
one of their, yeah. It was like, I was like, dude, how are you reaching them? He's like, Facebook, and text message, and then this was when all those ranch parties were starting to happen. Oh yeah. So he's like, oh man, I got this crew coming, and then this other crew, and I'm like, okay. Happens at these ranch parties, and all of a sudden I saw the video. I was like, holy crap.
That was my era.
Yeah, who's letting these kids go out there and do this
beer pong and beer kegs and all that shit?
Oh yeah,
Jungle Juice,
Project X.
Yeah, that type of shit.
Oh man, and I see this girl, she's walking to the door, and I'm like, okay, and she's all wobbly legged in her heels. I'm like, oh my god. I asked the guy, I said, okay, how do you ID him? He goes, oh, all we do is make sure nobody's over 18. No one over 18 can come in.
What the fuck?
I was like, so, yeah, there was some kid who looked like he was like 12. He's standing in a corner with his Star Wars shirt on, talking to his friends. I'm like, dude, he goes, oh man, this is great, man. And he's drinking Gatorade. I'm like, okay, But I mean, the bar we'd sell energy drinks and soda, sell a ton of pizza at the food truck outside, and they all paid cover. And they would hang out till 11:45.
Yeah.
We shut the door down at 11:45 and start letting them out as parents pick them up at the curb. We're like the bus stop at high school. Okay, wait a second. All right, you're here to get Susan. Charlie, you're not gonna, you know. And you know the parents are like, hey, they'd come back, hey, she lost her cell phone. Okay, we go inside, get them their phone. You know, this one dad's like, hey, why do you have a hickey? And the girl's like, what is Dad? Don't embarrass me. And he's like, oh man, you know.
So this whole time you're making all this money. How were you pretty good with like
horrible,
saving and investing?
Horrible, terrible, out of there, ridiculous, never. Fogo de Chao 4 days a week.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, double Del Frisco's, Double Eagle Steakhouse. You know, going to trip, dude. You don't think when you're in that moment. You know, it takes a lot of discipline, and Juan now tells Juan Castillo then, you were an idiot. What were you doing? You know, and it's you know it's hindsight. You know,
yeah.
So I that's one of the things that I tell people is, you know, if a new entrepreneur is in the nightlife or they're in any industry that happens and they hit their stride and you're young, remember, this too shall pass.
Yeah, for sure.
In other words, live in the moment, but be responsible. And part of your tools should be, you know, saving for retirement, investing in yourself, you know, having a plan B, having some kind of insurance, having a savings account. And, you know, if you can invest in things that are, you know, tangibles, real estate, equipment, you know, and you can set aside money, then do that. Have a 401k, have a Roth IRA, you know, whatever your format is of saving money, IUL, whatever, do it and have something set aside, because when it stops in this business, you're hot only until you're hot.
Yeah.
And the day you're not, you show up somewhere and somebody at the door goes, okay, what's your name again? Hang on. Let me. There's this guy with a lot of gray hair. Says his name is JC. I don't know. Something about MySpace, you were his top friend. You know, you're like, hey man, everybody knows me.
Yeah.
Okay, he's getting angry now. I don't know. Yeah.
Get some Pepto-Bismol up here.
What do I do? It's like my dad at the house, you know, when I don't qualify his Scrabble word, you know.
Did you ever have a mentor? Did you consider a mentor?
I had a lot of people along the way that were instrumental. Sammy Orlando, Susan Nguyen. You know, there's a gentleman who, you know, God bless his soul, Chamito. You know, we would talk. He rest in peace. He was man, in this industry, he was an innovator.
Oh, for sure.
One
of the greatest of all time.
Yeah. You know, I had a lot of nice conversations with George Salas.
Yeah.
You know, he was man, that dude was the kind of guy that shoots for the next universe and at least hits the moon.
Yeah.
You know, I will tell you that I never saw that guy ever at less than a 7.
Yeah.
His aura, personality,
you
know, had good meetings with guys like Chris Ames.
Yeah.
You know, they would say, you know, Juan, the Latin market's different, you know, and the way your approach to it's a little different, but I do have some pointers like, you know, you should try this, give this a try, add this to your toolkit.
Yeah.
And he was always, and never bougie, never, you know. And then you have your guys that were more about the lifestyle, you know, and I tried to avoid those guys because I saw their missteps, you know, and, you know, you're young, so I wouldn't call you a mentor, but I would say me and you have had tons of conversations that I saw that when I go back, I go, man, you know what? Every time I talk to this dude, I get something out of it.
Yeah.
Like it's something I can say, I need to look at this again. And maybe it didn't work for me, but I need to see if I really gave it a chance or if my approach was right, you know, with that recommendation, you know. And Francisco Badillo.
Oh, yeah, good people.
You know Cisco.
Yeah.
That guy is, you know, a lot of people will say, you know, a lot of new people, like, who is that guy? There was one point where everybody in this business got all of their digital marketing from him.
Oh, yeah.
I literally would sit with him in a Starbucks, and he's like, don't talk. I got to make 50 flyers
For sure.
by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I'm literally, he would change his style of design, and all the copycat people would change how they,
always,
you know, and I would be like, dude, why do all these? He's like, Juan, look at the flyer. Look at when my first flyer. I'd be like, holy crap, everybody's duplicating.
Yeah.
He switched to motion flyers. Everybody started doing motion flyers. He would, you know, and I would sometimes, because he was so busy, I would order flyers from the usual suspects in our industry, other guys,
Yeah.
and then I get the flyer, and he'd call me and go, "Hey, I'm gonna do you a favor. Don't post that flyer. It's a recycled flyer."
He's told me that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hey man, that flyer, they used it over at M Bar like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a recycled 4th of July flyer.
Yeah.
You're gonna look stupid, bro. Don't do it. I was like, okay.
He remembers all this shit, bro.
Oh, yeah,
He has
yeah,
a fucking
yeah.
brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's on point,
Yeah.
And there were also some, definitely there's some very good, just DJs in general that I've worked with that are good as gold. Penetrate. I hardly see him out anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But that guy
Came a long way.
Oh yeah, Jammin' Jay.
Yeah,
Good
people too.
Mr. Rogers. I know he's in the urban market,
Yeah.
but on a business point,
Oh, yeah.
him and Go DJ Heisey, man, those guys are at the top of the
For
game.
sure.
Yeah,
Very few people you could say that could do, like, if you say their name if you post their name on something, like, it just gives it that fucking.
Oh yeah, yeah. Boyle's a really good dude.
Yeah.
I like him. He's very niche.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him over the years kind of transition a little bit more so to be very very niche in
Mm-hmm.
house and Latin. But then there's the man, my boy Ebonics. He's
Oh, yeah. Monster.
Rockwell.
Yeah.
I mean those guys wicked.
Yeah,
those are some of the guys that. They go beyond just being a good DJ. You like being around them.
Yeah,
they
for sure.
make it, I have customers that tell me, "Hey man, what's up with DJ Bruno? You ever talk to him anymore?"
Yeah.
And I go, "Well, he's no DJs. He's a realtor now.
Yeah.
Just like Eddie DeVille, DJs, he's a realtor. But man, so when can I, that guy used to be always really cool to talk to. I'd go ask him for a request, and he would take the time to ask me,
Yeah.
"Hey man, so how's it going over at your job? What
Yeah.
you got going on? Are you still in college? Hey, what, they would ask them things, and they would make them a regular of their nights.
Yeah.
These were very smart DJs that knew that beyond the experience, these customers felt special. Oh, the DJ knows me. Oh, I know the DJ. That's always been
That shit goes a long way, man.
It goes a long way. DJ Paul, he's a good guy. I like dealing with Paul. We hardly get to talk the way I like to talk, but Paul's a good dude. So, and unfortunately, one of the really, really good guys I used to like chopping it up is no longer around. Paul Whiskey.
Oh yeah, for
R.I.P.
sure. Yeah.
Paul Whiskey.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was a whole other level.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Like he is a real deal. Like if Chamito and Marco Reyna had a love child, and it was raised by JR, and then got sent away to military school and escaped military school and got put on probation. That's there you go. Like he was just that dude was edgy all the way and was never like down. He was always.
When it comes to like stardom and being like huge in Houston, that's the person you think about.
Yeah.
Just fucking doing crazy shit outside the box, like
in my mind, I would always tell myself, I see this dude like being eventually, like a personality,
for sure,
a celebrity, his own podcast nationally, maybe things like that, because the guy was very genuine.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
No one ever if you didn't like him, he liked you.
Yeah, for sure.
And he would bug you. Hey man, what, you still don't like me?
Yeah, he was smart and funny as fuck, bro.
Yeah. He was just a beast with it, dude.
Yeah.
And and it's just unfortunately, like I said, the lifestyle sometimes in this industry, you got to fight that.
Yeah.
And you got to still continue to be an individual, a person, and sharpen the sword every day.
Yeah.
And just keep developing.
Honestly, bro, that's one of the things that always discouraged me about the business when something like that happens. Like, everything could be going good, and then all of a sudden something happens like that, and it's like you look around, and I don't think this is normal. In my head, I'm like, this is not normal. And you see it so often, and you're like, fuck, do I even want to do this shit, bro? And I'm a part of this. And that's discouraging as fuck. That's one of the parts that I truly hate about it.
It's difficult because at a certain point, as a person, you evolve and you outgrow the typical pitfalls. If you're on the right path, you're just like, okay, I'm not gonna drink. Okay, now I'm not gonna use the casual drugs. I'm not gonna be a drug party person. I'm in this, and I see other people doing it, but I know that for me, it is not something that I want to identify with. But if you speak up, everybody around you says, "Then why are you in the business?"
Yeah.
Well, you're in the business because it's a good business.
I learned that
Because
the
you're a
hard
people person, you know?
Yeah.
And if you become an outspoken person, you'll get ostracized. I can
Always.
tell you. Immediately, everybody's like, I noticed that once I stopped drinking, my invitations to hang out with people went from, hey, call Juan, call JC, he'll show up and we'll have a good time,
Yeah.
to I would see people and be like, I didn't know you guys were going to show up. Oh, yeah. You're here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, we're here. Yeah. Come over if you want, grab a, well, I guess just come over. You're not going to grab a shot.
Yeah.
Just come over. And then slowly, when you're not that persona that they saw when you had alcohol in your system,
Yeah.
were under the influence of drugs, were part of, that environment, when you're no longer the guy that's willing to be a personal, I guess, crash dummy.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Give me the funnel. Hang me
Yeah,
upside down. I'll do the cake stand. I'll be the first one. All right, let me jump in the cello pool and wrestle with the damn. You're not that guy to do that. When you stop that, well, then all of a sudden it's like that persona you created
Yeah.
doesn't exist, and people get to really know who you are.
Yeah.
And they're not interested. Oh, that guy has layers.
Yeah.
He's an onion. Oh, man, you got to listen. Oh, he's going to start talking about motivational speaking. And he's going to talk about goals and manifestation. And he's going to talk about, trying to be healthy. He's going to talk about, zero beat sober life.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. That guy's not cool. That guy's not fun to be around. And what they don't realize is no, that person is still fun. But what you got to do is you got to begin to see that this is a trip that we're going one time through.
Yeah.
And if it's all a big hangover, what did you accomplish?
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone asked me when I decided to stop drinking, Juan, when was the last time you had a good time and alcohol was not involved?
Yeah.
And I was like thinking, I was like, And they said, okay, here's a better question. When was the last time you partied and got drunk? I want you to give me all the details of it. And I was like, oh, well, halfway through it, I blacked out. And I forgot. And I woke up with a bear head on me. I was passed out on the bottom of the DJ booth. And they were like, is that what you wanted? Is that what you want, Juan?
Yeah.
He goes, at what point do you think the people around you are not laughing with you,
Yeah.
but they're laughing at you?
Yeah.
And they're still doing their thing. They're going to college. They're developing. They're getting into a relationship. They're getting out of the club life. They're still watching you, and they hang out with you here and there.
Yeah.
But they've moved on to the next chapter.
For sure.
They've turned the page, and you're in this never-ending hamster cycle.
Yeah.
Where every day you wake up hungover.
Yeah.
You go check your social media, hang out with the few same people that in the industry, and go to the same places. Party a little bit, have some free shots, look at your bank account. Okay, enough money hit my account where I can go ahead and pop a bottle, and you go to all the industry spots, and your week is done.
Yeah.
And maybe you have a few hookups in the interim, and you're that guy that none of these, partners ever take serious.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they met you in their party phase.
Yeah.
In their mind,
Yeah.
you're just,
I see some people still going through it, year after year, and they still stuck in that loop. Because it is tough. Alcohol is normal, right? It's like so normal that you're more weird if you don't drink, And I think that a lot of people don't have somebody to tell them, hey, slow down. So that's why it takes them so long, or there's always justifications. They always have reasons. Well, I'll stop next week. Next year, new year, new me, And they keep waiting and waiting and waiting. But when you're sober, bro, you feel everything.
Oh, yeah. And see, what a lot of people don't realize is if you go through life feeling nothing, it's all about the experience.
Yeah.
Nothing goes with you.
Yeah.
The richest man in the world takes nothing when he dies.
Yeah, at all, yeah.
Except in those fleeting moments when you I'm sure whatever your belief religiously is, when you think, what kind of a life did I live?
Yeah.
Was I loved? Will I be remembered? Will I be revered?
Yeah.
Will I be admired? Did I leave a legacy?
Yeah.
What was my footprint in the world? What was the impact I made? And if there's an old saying, a man who leaves no impact is someone who never existed.
Yeah.
Because you at the end of the day,
Yeah.
will anybody really remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Will anyone, will it affect anyone that you're not here anymore?
Yeah.
And sometimes, I think about the industry people that we've kind of mentioned that aren't here with us anymore, there was no one to tell them, hey man, you know,
Yeah.
get, tell me what's going on. I'll listen.
Yeah.
You never know what people are going through.
Yeah.
Ever.
Ever.
And in this industry, it's very, very, very prolific that you will see people that you think that guy was happy.
Yeah.
He's in shape. The guy's living his best life. He's at the top of the game.
Yeah.
And just like in Hollywood, you don't know what's really going on with that person.
Yeah, for sure.
Until you see the obituary.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, and that's the thing. How, it makes me look at what I find to be happiness, and I keep it real simple. I have my circle, I have my family, and I try to make that what makes me happy. There's a lot of people that come in and out of our lives. There's a lot of characters in our story.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of focus on yourself. You got to love yourself and find a place mentally where you don't have to be a follower.
Yeah.
To be a leader, you can't be following. And then last but not least, you're your own best enemy. You got to dominate your own weaknesses.
Yeah.
If your weakness is drinking, you got to, shout out and I praise all the people who can have a glass of wine and don't get drunk.
Yeah.
What I had to admit many years ago is that is not me.
Yeah.
That is my weakness.
Yeah.
It's a thing that if I feed that, it will dominate me and I will be someone who I don't want to be. So I had to say that cannot be part of me. Yeah. I'm not saying everybody has to do it. If you can drink and you can have one drink, two drinks, and you're good and you can drink socially, then I applaud you. I still feel more admiration for the disciplined people who pass up on it completely. You don't know how many birthday parties for 3-year-olds I've gone to where there's a DJ and kegs. And I'm like, come on, man. Really? We needed to have a bar for this, I actually went to somebody's birthday party and there was maybe 10 kids, 20 adults. They had a few Sesame Street cupcakes and things and a moonwalk. And I told the lady, I said, joking, I said, hey, man, where's the DJ? Where's the margarita machines? Where's the dancers? And she laughed. She goes, I went to one of those a month ago. I was there 5 minutes. She goes, that was not a baby's birthday party. And, and I think about that and I go, wow, that's how far away society has gone that, I understand a quinceañera, a sweet 16, a coming of age, a bar mitzvah. Okay, those are key moments in a young person's life. Yeah. You're becoming a man, you're becoming a young woman. Those are big. But if it's your second birthday and they're carrying you around, but there's a I went to one place where they literally had an ice block and they were doing, and I'm like, come on, man.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no, you guys really gotta, yeah, man, stay, man. We're gonna have fajitas and tin, man. I'm like, who are these parents that want to have their kids see them getting totally loaded, But, everybody's different, to each his own. I just say, I have a large amount of respect to people who can live the sober life because you have to feel everything and you actually are living your life. You're not popping a pill, going through the motions.
Yeah. You're
like, you know what? I got, somebody broke up with me. I'm going to process that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through that. I lost my job today. I'm going to process that. I'm going to come out of it on the other side. I'm going to be stronger. Yeah. I'm going to see where things didn't work out for me. Maybe I'm in the wrong industry. Maybe I need to be an independent contractor. Yeah. Maybe I need to be an entrepreneur. It's easy to just pick up a beer and say, you know what? Boom, I'm going to get drunk. Forget about this. Tomorrow I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
No. Tomorrow, you don't know if you're going to wake up.
Yeah.
And so it's like, do what you can in the moment and live life. That's really living life.
Yeah.
Putting in the work, going through the steps, the journey. It's not the end result. Like, nobody wins one championship.
Yeah.
You the minute the season's over and you got that ring, you're like, okay, now we're building a dynasty.
Next, yeah.
We need a 2-peat. We need a 3-peat.
Yeah.
Okay, now we need a legacy.
Yeah.
And winners, people that overcome and accomplish things, they see that. because it is about the journey.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, today I sold 100 pizzas. Man, that's great. We did great. Pinballs is the best. No. It's like, okay, we did that. So how much further can we go?
Yeah.
How do we take it a step further? How do we duplicate this, make it scalable, and franchise this?
Yeah.
Or, how do we reach another market? Or how do we reach another side of town? Or as a company on the restaurant side, what's another type of food? What's another niche market we can go into? You always have to, I feel like the minute you stop pushing and striving and you're not driven.
Yeah. You die.
And for some people, it happens literally.
Yeah.
Literally, I have had people tell me, my grandfather, he retired. He worked for such and such company 30 years until he was 70, and they forced him to retire.
Yeah.
And the minute he had nothing to occupy his time, it's like he just starts shutting down.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you don't have a purpose.
Yeah.
And that's, is your life have a purpose?
Yeah.
Or are you just going through the motions? Living. I get it. You should live for the moment, enjoy the moment, smell the roses, all that.
But later,
Yeah, exactly. And it's tough to have that discipline and to love yourself enough to say, hey, I'm gonna do this now,
Yeah.
and go through the tough moments because this is what's better for me in the long run.
Yeah.
Reward versus what you invest into it. People don't see it. Everybody wants it right away.
Thank you for coming, bro. We've been trying to do this for a while.
Oh yeah, no, of course. And bro, I have nothing but respect for everything you do. When people talk to me, I have people tell me all the time, hey man, so do you still hang out with industry people? I'm like, I don't hang out with industry people. There are people that are still in the industry that I feel add value to me, and I try to be in their circle and be around them so that I can benefit mutually with them, but they still have value for me in my life.
Yeah.
Those are the, I don't hang around with people that just want to party. I don't want to just be known in these spots. I'm behind the scenes completely, and I try to stay that way because I feel like that's where I need to be now.
Yeah.
Now my knowledge and my depth and what I bring to the table, the tools I have, don't require that I be the frontline guy anymore.
Yeah.
Now I can show others how to be the image, the frontline, the brand, and because of that, I think it creates a great space for the fresh guys like you to be out there right on the cutting edge doing what y'all do, and to do it at the level that you do it. Because I'm gonna tell you, bro, I see promotions as a dying, but it's evolving into marketing, social media, and you've been smart. We've talked about the chess moves that you've done where other people pushed the rock to the top of the mountain and then they jumped out and you're like, wait a second, I like where you're at.
Yeah.
Put a stick under that. I'm gonna here you go. Now give it to me. Give me the ball and I'm gonna keep running because I'm not gonna tell you what you got, but you have something that has value. And for me, I can do something with that. And you've picked up what they see as like a classic broken down car. And you're like, nah, give that to me. I'm gonna do something with it. There's still juice in that lemon. Give it to me. I'm gonna squeeze it and I'm gonna do something with it. And you have. Me and Cisco talk about it all the time. And a couple other people, there's a few other industry people that tell me, hey man, you still talk to Hendrix? Yeah. Man, that dude, how is he still pushing places with a streamlined system? Using social media. He doesn't have 50 people. I'm like, because he knows what he's doing. He's being resourceful. If you're resourceful, you can have a big image, throw a big shadow with just a very focused laser beam
For sure,
of movement. I said he doesn't waste any motion. Every movement he's doing, boom,
the purpose.
Strategic. It has a purpose. Everything he's doing, he moves with a purpose, and it works out. There's a lot of wasted motion in other people's stuff, and they throw a lot of hoopla, and when the substance isn't there, you're like, it's another night. I'm showed up to a Friday night. There's the DJ. I'm going to hear a playlist, the top 40. I'm going to see the usual girls that float around and get in for free at all the places because that's who you're getting. Just the effort they put in is just to get those few people that everybody has to let in for free, and that's it. You're hanging out with the same old people versus bringing in crowds, different sides of the fence, bringing people and making it a something where you're like, man, you go into that spot and you can tell Hendrix is there because it's diverse. It's different. It's the same, but it's different people's takes on that same house music, that edgy vibe with some hip hop, but you get a good mix, and it's never hood. And that's another thing. You've avoided. You've been very smart to still be edgy and relevant, but you bring something there to where that hoodness doesn't take over. And a lot of people, they're like, oh man, you got to get crowds. So you got to play the rap. You got to let these people in. You got to do that. And you don't though. And at the end of the day, I will pay more to be in a good venue, having a good time, not worried looking over my shoulder, not worried about people coming into my section, not worried that there's going to be a fight that I'm not even in at the other end of the bar. Everything's chill. There's good people around me, good vibes. I can mingle, and I can say, hey, you know what? This is the kind of thing, I don't go out a lot. So when I go out, cool. I can put my defenses down, have a good time.
That's what it's about, really. Just enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Be social because you like to be social. Everybody wants to be social. But, there's some venues where I literally will have people tell me, oh, man, I went to that spot. You said it was good. I said, I told you it gets packed. Brother, 2 guys bumped me. Somebody grabbed my girl. I almost had to get into a fight. Thank God, I just bounced. We finished our drinks and we bounced before, 2 o'clock. It was 1 o'clock and we just left because we could already tell. The natives were getting restless. So.
All right. Let's finish up here. I'll tell them one more time where to follow you.
You can follow us at pinballspizzerias.com. On Instagram, it's at Pinballs Pizzeria. And the same on TikTok. It's Pinballs Pizzeria.
And what's the website?
The website is pinballspizzeria.com.
Thank you for watching, guys. To the next one. Cheers.